Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the SEO agency Rollercoaster. So imagine you're on a roller coaster, but instead of crazy loops and gravity-defying drops, we're diving deep into the dynamic world of SEO agencies. Here we're taking a closer look at the life of SEO agencies and pros, shedding some light on the everyday challenges, unfortunate bumps, and the high fives that come with the territory. You have to be this tall to ride this mix of straight talk, a sprinkle of laughs, and tons of behind-the-scenes knowledge. So if you're all about staying up to date with SEO and agency life, hit that subscribe button, keep yourself in the know, and you might even find yourself chuckling here and there. My name is Andrew Zarudi, and I'm part of the marketing team behind the powerful SEO platform SEO Ranking, and I'll be guiding you on this wild ride along with my co-host, Chris Simmons, the brains behind the OMG Center, your go-to for digital agency growth hacks. Hey, Chris, couldn't be happier to have you along on this adventure.
As always, really happy to be here. Really happy to be interviewing Gareth again. Actually, it feels like we have to do it every 6 or so months for various different places, whether it be webinars, podcasts, on stages, etc. So I feel like I know you almost as well as you know you, Gareth.
Well, it's also quite nice to have a library of material we can go back over and look at how fast stuff changes in what we do, to be honest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you ready to get on the roller coaster though, Gareth? That's the main question.
Hang on.
So we've known each other for quite a while, and I've seen quite a lot of changes in the journey along the way. But things that the telling of a good digital marketing entrepreneur is, staying power in an industry and in a sector. Could you just tell us a little bit about your backgrounds, kind of pre-agency, and what made you fall in love with this wild west through to wild ride?
Yeah, I mean, if we go back to year 2000, I was working in a retail store selling high-end bathroom products. And nowadays we call it showrooming. At the time, it wasn't quite as established as a consumer tactic, shall we say. But I'd spend all day designing someone's bathroom, and then they'd just disappear and Alta Vista it or Ask Jeeves. And before you know it, I'd lost the sale. So around 2002, 2003, I decided that this internet thing is here to stay.
It's going to stick around for a couple of days.
Well, at the time, most of my internet activity was asking girls ASL on AOL. So it was quite a step up from speaking to 50-year-old men in Florida, let's be honest.
You might well have been speaking to 50-year-old men in Florida, mate. Let's not get into this now.
I'm going to assume that I was. It was the Wild West back then, let's be honest. So yeah, quite a paradigm change for my own sort of digital consumption. Bear in mind that at this time, the only time you were online, you were in front of a desktop computer, never mind a laptop or a mobile. Yeah. I went to university to study e-business was the name of the course, or how to do business on the internet. Whilst I was at university, I managed to get myself a job working for General Electric as I started off as a part-time administrator, and I ended up running sort of web projects as the middleman between Tata Consultancy Services in Bangalore and the headquarters in Connecticut. So that kind of opened my eyes to the outsourcing model, also opened my eyes to how much enterprise pays for simple web forms, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, I'm onto something here. So as soon as I finished university, I started university, didn't own a computer. So my first student loan installment, I bought a Dell, can't even Pentium 2 or something.
Yeah.
And I also spent, and we laugh at this now, £80, which was also with inflation more money than £80 is today, on a 64 megabit USB stick.
Wow.
Those were the days.
I mean, if you think about I think for £15, you can get 128 gig micro SD card. So
yeah, it's like I bought a 1 terabyte micro SD the other day for 73 quid. You are showing your age, though. You are showing your age. The steps that you took, though, in those early years, as far back as it was, to be perfectly honest, Gareth, what would you say the key things were that led you to what is now Marketing Signals, that kind of initial vision that you followed?
So one thing that working for the man at GE taught me was that I didn't want a job. I didn't want to do the traditional graduate scheme, although it was offered to me. But what it also taught me was the outsourcing model that you can effectively buy in the East and resell in the West, for argument's sake. So once I finished university, I started my first agency. We were called HD Designs. I'm sure if you go to Wayback Machine, you'll find a terrible... I think we even had Flash navigation. Like, different world. And so I started... Effectively, I was an SEO freelancer. So I taught myself how to code, realized that if you make a website, you get paid once for the website and then just a few pounds a month for hosting. Whereas if you actually handle the internet marketing for them, you can get paid every month. Like that to me seemed like one hell of a business model, shall we say. And having experienced working with back offices, so obviously GE was in India, I started off as a freelancer working with small businesses in the UK. I think the reality of it is I just got sick of talking to small businesses with very little money and very little knowledge or empathy for the battle that I was trying to fight for them. So I looked at what I was procuring as a SEO freelancer, and a lot of it was link building from India, as it was back then. So I kind of put two and two together and bought a plane ticket and went to India and found some business partners. Eventually, crikey, we could do a 3-hour series on Indian business partners in 15 years ago, and the rest, as they say, is history. We ranked number one for link building in the UK and the US, or at least top 3. You know, these things jump around a bit. I raised my profile within the SEO industry, whether that be headline sponsoring Brighton SEO in its infancy. I don't think I could afford to headline sponsor.
I was going to say when it was affordable.
when it was in the Brighton Dome, one room, and cost just over 5 figures. I imagine it's 6 figures plus for the headline spot now. Well done, Kelvin, for that job. And what I really loved about, so this is where we progressed from GarethHoyle.co.uk to manual link building. What I really loved about the link building side of stuff is that my customers were people like me. I believe you were an early customer, Chris, back in the...
I've never bought a link in my life, Gareth. I have no idea what you're talking about. This is slanderous. Prove it.
I can pull up the paper.
No, don't. Cut that.
I've never deleted an email since I was invited to Gmail in 2004, I think it was. I actually loved the fact that by selling to SEO agencies, all of a sudden, my customers are other SEOs, and we can talk the same language, and we're going through the same dilemmas, and we can... Early masterminds, I suppose. It's just that this was more client-customer rather than peer-to-peer relationship. Yeah, I just didn't look back from that, really. I love what we do. It's I think I love the gamification. Though it's not as simple as this anymore. That battle to number one. Like, I want to be number... It used to be 10 blue links, didn't it? Rather than all these distractions in the search. But I still love that beating your competitors, I suppose.
Yeah.
What was that turning point for you when you understood that you wanted to take it further than link building, to expand it to the marketing signals that we're talking about today?
In 2012, April the 21st, 2012, the Penguin update hit. Uh-huh. So that kind of wiped out 80% of the nefarious link building tactics that we were doing, shall we say. Agencies stopped outsourcing link building because at the time you could actually cause harm from links. So everybody became very paranoid, and effectively our work dried up. Especially the sort of size of organizations we were chasing after. I'm sure you could still sell the small businesses snake oil, but we like working with people that know what they're doing. So we just noticed that the work was dropping off. So it kind of made sense to broaden our offering away from just being a link building outsourcing operation to an SEO agency, and then ultimately to a search engine marketing agency. I guess we realized we were leaving quite a lot of money on the table by only doing the link building side when there's content that can be invoiced for. Sounds very cold when we say it like that, but there's technical SEO activity that can be invoiced for. There's PPC management that can be invoiced for. There's analytics and data science that can be invoiced for. There's all these extra services that we're skilled in doing, that we just weren't doing because we were so busy focusing on link building. So it just made sense to broaden our product set.
How would you elaborate a bit on the process of transformation to marketing signals? What were like the biggest challenges that you encountered in terms of growth, in terms of getting new clients, maybe changing your messaging, your brand redesign, just everything? Because you've mentioned already 3 different company names besides Gareth Hoyle. Is it co.uk? Okay,
it was on
4 companies today. Yeah, 4 different ways of finding you. So, what were the biggest challenges in terms of getting that strong foothold in the market that will allow you to expand and grow? And
if we think about one of the main challenges is that, so we have we are all famous. It just depends how narrow your channel is. I was very well known within the SEO industry, within agency life. I wasn't necessarily very well known by the CMOs at large organizations, by the digital marketing managers.
You mean to say no one asks for your autograph when you went to the supermarket?
I'm afraid I was asked my autograph once, and that was when I was in Kyiv in 2015. I refused. I had no idea what I was signing. So
you're smart.
I guess it's like my profile was very much within the SEO community, not within the digital marketing community. So I had to work hard to retool the talks that I was giving at conferences, retool all the messaging on our website. The other big challenge that I would consider is we were hiring a lot of new people with new skills that I was maybe not 100% confident about my own ability to deliver the work. With link building, I understand every step of the process. I understand all the tools that we need to use to find the opportunities. I understand the crafting of the email chains to try and attract the attention of the webmasters or publishers that we're looking to work with. Whereas all of a sudden, whilst I can code to a very basic level, I had 3 or 4 technical SEO specialists in my business that I had to believe them when they told me it was going to take 8 hours to complete a task. That was quite a challenge. I guess it was also the fact that we started to get more UK staff rather than offshore. So as manual link building, I think we were a team of probably 5 of us in the UK, and anything from 200 to 300 people offshore. Whereas when we flipped to marketing signals, we were 15 people in the UK and a handful of people offshore. So all the HR function, all the soft headaches that people bring with them very quickly landed on my desk. And that, I suppose, required more UK management structure. People can't always do what they say they can do, which means that we needed to have more one-to-ones, more. I think management structure is probably the easiest way to define it. Whereas previously I had almost a very small front-end team and all my back-end team was offshore. So I guess that certainly brought its own challenges. And these are challenges that we still fight today, to be honest. But the people side of this job is the hardest part of this job.
You mentioned that you were already popular among the SEO community.
Popular? Come on. Don't forget he's saying this.
Yeah. But I wanted to find out what gave you the confidence to understand that you grew. Was it working with a lot of clients, word of mouth marketing? Was it attending different conferences? What do you think? What do you feel gave you a bigger boost in terms of like name recognition?
Yeah, I mean, certainly sponsoring events helped. Paying for the booze and food at dinners and parties certainly helps get your name out there. But I also think just the fact that we were almost a challenger brand in the space. So we would, for example, locally to Manchester, where I'm based, we ranked top 3 for SEO Manchester. Now, I can assure you that search term doesn't drive any new business. But what it does do, it helps to elevate your persona in the local area. Because most people that search for SEO Manchester are SEOs in Manchester wondering where they are. So by having GarethHoyle.co.uk ranking for this sort of term, that certainly helped. I then, using my rudimentary coding skills, we'd now call this programmatic SEO. At the time, we just called it on-page spam. Wrote a script that took every town and county in the UK, along with SEO, PPC, internet marketing, online advertising, and created a unique page for each one. So we were literally ranking for like PPC agency Sheffield. We were ranking for online advertising Cornwall. Like, it does all over the UK with my name. And I think that whilst that held us back when it came to getting the bigger contracts, in our infancy, it certainly helped me get my name out there. And off the back of me getting my name out there, I was able to alter the messaging to, we are now Marketing Signals and we are grown up.
Just to talk a bit more about the challenges, I want to specifically ask you how you got to, well, I don't want to sound too confident that you got through the pandemic, but I'm just, how did you handle the pandemic with regard to your managing your team with clients issues? Maybe you were offering clients some other services that helped them to stay afloat during this struggle. So if you could talk a bit more about the pandemic and how it happened.
Yeah, I mean, for us in search marketing, the pandemic was a tale of two cities. So PPC was a disaster. Like, as soon as everybody went into lockdown, a lot of our advertisers just cut the budget. Like, nobody knew is this going to last a week, a year? Are we all dead? Like, nobody knew what was going on. At the time, our biggest PPC client was a company called Skin Clinic. So in a world where you're not allowed to touch or breathe on each other, skin clinics and mole removal, and like that was probably the most hit. Other than those selling lipstick in a world of masks, I can't imagine there was an industry more hit than beauty and skin type stuff. So yeah, PPC was an absolute disaster. But then from an SEO perspective, we doubled our revenue because all these brands that had the foresight to see past the pandemic, because it wasn't going to last forever, they were starting to invest more into SEO as they think, well, we don't need customers today, but at an unknown point in the future, we're going to need to rebuild the business. Therefore, why don't we take a long-term view and double down our SEO investment? And we also have a world of SEO consultants and executives that need employing. And so I guess from an agency perspective, we also went fully remote, which was brilliant. So I cut the overhead of the office and shared out so we pay the internet for our staff. We buy them desks and make sure their home setup is as good as we can get it. I mean, personally, I got divorced after the pandemic, so it wasn't all. Luckily, I was so busy at work, it distracted me from the personal problem. But from a professional perspective, I mean, we've normalized now, I suppose. We had a very good 2020, 2021. 2022 was good. 2023 dipped off a bit, I think, as the post-pandemic spending kind of normalized. But yeah, we've had a really good 2024. And I think a lot of that is built on the foundations of the work that we did during the pandemic.
Yeah. Respectfully, 20-ish years in the industry is never always rosy. And you, me, Andrew, everyone listening to this knows that. Have there ever been moments where you've just thought, do you know what? Nah, I'm out. I'm gonna go back to, what was that? What, your first job, and ask for your old job back? You know.
I mean, well, to keep with the theme of the podcast, agency life is a roller coaster.
It is.
So you've certainly got to be resilient. Let's put it that way. Look, I love what I do, and when it's going well, it is so rewarding. But there's always tomorrow's unseen updates or customer challenges that can also make it incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
I would imagine that if I was running a legal practice, it would be the same. I have a couple of e-commerce stores that I run as my own business. They have good weeks and bad weeks. Like, I don't think there's no such thing as a low pressure job anymore. So I think that, there have been times, of course, where I've thought, I'm done. But then just go for a walk, take a couple of days off, and you realize that this is a job that has, I'm quite happy to say, rewarded me handsomely over the years, that I can do from my home office.
Yeah.
I can pick my kids up from school. I can go for a glass of wine at lunch with my friends if they're around, but then come back and just catch up with my work afterwards. I think you've really got to weigh up the pros and cons. And really, I think for the vast majority of us, the pros I've traveled the world. This job has taken me to Australia. It's taken me to Los Angeles. It's taken me to Iran. And it's taken me to Ukraine. It's taken me to Brighton. Everywhere in between, though. I absolutely love it. I see most of my agency friends overseas rather than in the UK. I was in Portugal on holiday at the end of August, and I noticed that a good friend called Magda was on holiday in Portugal as well. We met up for lunch. It's like, what an industry where you're competitors, but you help each other. I'm fairly certain that if a carpenter had cut the wood wrong, another carpenter wouldn't tell him how to fix it. Whereas I'm confident that in the digital marketing and search engine industry, we help each other. And we could talk about SEO Twitter in a different podcast. Yeah. I love that. And that's unbeatable, unbelievable as well, really.
You moved the agency remote and hybrid. There's a hybrid aspect to it now, because you do meet up occasionally, and you do have some space, don't you?
No, we tend to meet up at dinner.
Okay, well, that's a leisurely hybrid approach. But basically fully remote, lots of communications remotely, but in a performance-driven agency, driving performance day in, day out. Changes that happen externally that you can't control. Changes that happen externally that clients can't control, but everything relatively remote and hybrid. How's the agency operate to the point where you can maintain that high performance output and keep the clients happy?
It's not without its challenges, I'll be honest. Everything seems to be a booked meeting, whereas previously I'd just come and tap you on the shoulder and say, can you help me with this? Yeah. Whereas now it's almost like, can I book 15 minutes into your calendar? And that can be frustrating, because sometimes it's, in the same way that a meeting could be an email, a meeting could be, I'm going to go and make a brew. Do you want to come with me while I ask you this?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I think we struggle there. In terms of how do we ensure we deliver the results, tracking and attribution modeling. The one thing I love about this industry is it's measurable. So we use Teamwork to manage our projects and our time tracking, so we know exactly how long stuff is taking. But I can talk about tools later. We're not perfect. We occasionally get it wrong, but having daily, weekly, monthly touch points on PPC and quarterly or monthly touch points on SEO keeps the strategy aligned and keeps us sharp. In terms of how the agency operates, I think we're 10x better, easily. We do a 4-day week. So 4-day week, fully remote. I've got a highly motivated, hardworking, yet well-rested team. And I think that we don't suffer from burnout, yet we're producing, I would argue, world-class output, but we're not working too hard. We were interviewing for a position last week, and we were chuckling away that quite often we'll take a siesta, because if you're tired, rest your eyes, rest your brain, and then come back to your work afterwards. Yeah. And I think that giving my team the ability to work, to deliver their best work when they work best, rather than when I'm telling them they need to work best, is one of the things that helps us stand out. Culture's a pain in the bum. I'll be honest. Like, I miss after work drinks or activities on a Thursday or Friday. We're now, because we're remote, we've got people in the Philippines, people in the south of Spain, people in France, people in the UK, people all over the UK. So it would be very difficult for us to go back to an office, and it would be very difficult for us to try and maintain that office-based culture. I mean, I wouldn't be against hybrid, if I'm honest. Like, there is a lot to be said for getting everyone together one day a week. And just, so what we tend to do is, as a leadership team, we get together once a month. We have a couple of hours in a meeting room that we've booked. Then we go out for dinner. My PR team get together once a quarter and have a full day in a shared office space that we just hire by the day. And then they'll do all their ideation for the quarter. So where possible, we do try and get people together.
That's good.
The last point I will say about culture is we need to get more consistent at this, but it's something I'm continually trying to implement, is having that open chat room so people can just drop in. So it's almost like, it's like the office kitchen. So if you want to go make a cup of tea or coffee and come down back to your laptop, you don't necessarily want to go straight back into work, but you might not necessarily want to just sit there on your own, drinking your drink. So you can go and see if there's anybody in that channel, and then just jump on a video call and just talk about your cats and dogs and pets and weekends and that. I don't know. It's like, people still work with people. People still buy from people. Like, we're not quite ChatGPT chatting to ChatGPT yet. So I do try and keep that person-to-person element of the business alive. It's not easy, though. I will.
Let's talk about the tools that you use to keep your business delivering and your team also delivering. Just wondering, how are you using the technologies that are coming up, like the AI, different ones? How are you implementing that into different strategies to help your clients? Maybe you have a forward-looking approach to this. So I'm just wondering, what are the tools that help you get your job done? And how are you thinking about AI, or how are you already implementing AI to get even more stuff done?
So I'm a massive believer in tools, and it always makes me chuckle inside when a customer tells me we're going to in-house SEO because for what we pay you, we can pay one person's salary. But okay, I mean, there's only an analytics person, a data person, a writer. We pay Hrefs and we pay Majestic, but absolutely. You just outsource that. You just in-house that to one person. That's how it works. Tools that we use. I mean, number one, email. Like, my favorite tool in the world, email. My second favorite tool in the world, Google Sheets. You know, these are actual tools that are almost ubiquitous that we don't consider them tools. But remove it, and I think you'd notice. Yeah. I mentioned earlier Teamwork for our project management software. We do a lot of link type stuff. So SEMrush, Hrefs, Majestic, Moz for getting the link data from. We do a lot of digital PR. So stuff like Vulio, Muckrack, Quoted, the emailing, BuzzStream, and a few other emailing things that we have set up. Google Analytics. Let's not forget about that. Search Console, SE Ranking. There's a tool for everything in what we do. In terms of where we use AI into these things, I mean, a lot of the tools are integrating AI in already, so we're probably using it without even noticing. But we use it a lot for content planning and ideation, always human finished, but we can certainly use AI to break the back of it. We also build a lot of our own internal workflow processes that we use ChatGPT's API to try and guess what we'd be looking for or what we're going to be doing next. The best way that somebody could see how our internal tools work would be to acquire the agency.
Always selling.
Always selling. I wouldn't be against a roll-up at this stage of my career. But I guess we could also do a podcast just about agency roll-ups and what is next for the independents.
Wait for season 2, Gareth. Wait for season 2.
But yeah, that's without tools. I wish none of my competitors used tools because it would make my life so much easier. They wouldn't have any information. They wouldn't have any knowledge, any information or data. Like I find it incredible. So if you take every tool provider and merge them into one, which is kind of what we did with Coveragely, which is our own tool for digital PR reporting. Yeah, without tools, you're blind in this industry. You really are.
Yeah, and in SEO, it's not advisable to use just one tool for all your data. So you have to have that comparison to give you a more understanding of the temperature.
Yeah, good way of putting it. It's a good way of putting it. I think that not all tools. There are lots of tools out there that happen to have the same similar kind of we do X, Y, and Z, but the application of how you use that or how big their data set is for one feature of those tools often means that, like you were saying, Gareth, that wasn't even an exhaustive list, I'm sure, but you end up using 3 or 4 different things which have overlapping features, but you use it for one set of features for that client and another set of features for the same client.
Well, there could be all the journalists use muck, rack, and quoted, but maybe that the one that you need to speak to only uses one of the 2. So if you went down one route, then you'd have missed that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it's also the final point on the tools worth pointing out that they are just tools. Like there needs to be a person wielding the hammer, so to speak, to get the value out of the tool. This is almost goes back to the Yoast SEO. I made it go green. Why am I not ranking? Like there has to be insight and knowledge in the hands of the person using the tools rather than setting up
exactly
in a tool and then assuming that you're done.
Before jumping into the questions about the future plans for marketing signals, I wanted just to ask you to bring a sort of full circle. How has your approach to link building changed compared to when you started, was it 10 years ago, to what you do now? What is your approach to building links, spreading that link juice and authority?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only word that springs to mind would be a paradigm shift. We went from doing 10,000 links with the exact match anchor text on made for SEO websites, which worked at the time, by the way. Like we weren't just selling this for the sake of selling it. We were performance based then. To now, I've actually got to market my clients' businesses. And the way that we try and look at it is it's not, so back in the day, we'd make content for SEO. Now we make content for marketing. So I want to get it across social. I want to be able to make videos. I want to be able to get transcripts from videos. I want to slice the videos up into TikToks and shorts and reels. Like it's not just like, I think the term is different surfaces. So previously, we only cared that the links were going to the page, whereas now we're more likely to take a full view on what's in the SERP and then look at trying to get every surface ranking. Real links from real sites. So if Google's rewarding them with traffic, then that's exactly where we want to be getting our links from. And again, unless you're always reading and always learning and always testing, then you're going to be doing the wrong type of stuff. And, we're already looking at how we get SGE and snippets and that independent validation. So yeah, it's totally different to what we used to do.
Well, on that, on the future, given that like as of right now, and I'd say the last 18 months or so, there's been paradigm shift, as you say, after paradigm shift after paradigm shift. What do you think like the future challenges are for the agency space and for you particularly? Is there anything that you're specifically eyeing up that you're preparing to face?
Nobody knows what the future holds. 5 years ago, look where we were versus where we are today versus who knows where we'll be. I think it wasn't that long ago, Chris, that we did a meeting with our Oculus headsets.
We did. And I was only speaking about that the other day, and a bunch of Luddites. It never actually kicked off.
My kids don't use Google. Like my kids use TikTok. My kids use YouTube.
Yeah.
When I'm looking for a restaurant these days, I'll go to Instagram rather than Google. Like the user behavior is changing. And don't get me wrong, I don't expect Google to go the way of Bebo. But at the same time, I think that you'll probably find that a lot more a lot of my product search starts on Amazon because it's just easier, even if it's more expensive. I don't have to cut through there's a lot of rubbish on Amazon, but there's also a lot of rubbish on Google. So
how are you preparing that? Like those things, I totally agree. You know, I'm using Google less and less. I'm using other services more and more. Different place for different needs and different things. What are you guys doing as an agency that's going to allow you to not be just Google centric, so per se?
I will admit that as of today, we are still very Google centric. I have to fight the battle in front of me as well as trying to strategize for the future. I think if we go back to my previous point about utilizing the same content across multiple surfaces, so it's if you've got an Instagram account, it's very easy to create a TikTok account and just upload the same reel to TikTok. So just trying to, at the risk of saying tick a box, just trying to tick a box that you've got every channel covered. And then as you start to see traction, maybe that's when we move more resource into it. But at the moment, everybody told me SEO dies every other month, doesn't it? Like the SGE means SEO is dead. No, it doesn't. It just means we've got to figure out how to get our clients into SGE. Yeah. So I think whilst we're looking at how we reutilize content across all different surfaces, I think not being stuck in your ways is the best thing that you can be as an agency, and be willing to just jump on stuff and hire experts in the specific areas as and when you need to. And that could be via acquisition. I bet there's a lot of TikTok marketing agencies that are seeing higher multiples than SEO agencies at the moment. I also say that, look at where we were 5 years ago versus where we are today. And I think we'll be 5x progress in 5 years. Maybe this is finally the year of VR.
Oh, could be. I'm banking on it. I've got my Apple Vision Pro ready to go.
I wanted to ask you, because everybody has to have a plan, otherwise you're probably doomed for failure. And I wanted to understand, what was your plan, or what is your plan for this year? And if you already are thinking about what you want to achieve next year, maybe you want to expand, cover new services, maybe you want to have like new partners for cooperation, maybe you want to expand to new markets. Is there anything specific that is driving you this year? And it's into the year ahead.
So what drove us this year was a year of recovery, if I'm honest. We made a loss, as it's all publicly available information on companies' house. We made a loss last financial year. And that was due to some complacency in the hiring process, and we lost a big client and just a few other people problems that were caused. So we've managed to, I think we actually had I've not had the final figures, but I think we've had our best year ever in 2024. So I think I achieved my goal of turning the ship round and getting us back to profitability and growth. In terms of growth for marketing signals, I would be more than happy to just consistently grow at 20-25% a year for the next 5 to 10 years until I sail off into the Portuguese sunset, ideally. At the same time, I am 43, and I believe that I have another 10 years of work ahead of me at least. So we've actually been speaking internally about like, how do we look at like rolling up with another couple of agencies? And because at the moment, I sometimes feel that my agency is too big to be a small agency, but too small to be a big agency. So nobody's interested in us. We either need to get smaller, which isn't the answer, or we need to very quickly get ourselves up towards that 1 million per year EBITDA, which is where you start to become a lot more appealing to those agencies that are just buying others up, especially in the, like, we're trying to work on our technology products. So like Coveragely, like I mentioned, we're looking at our internal tools and whether we can put front ends and UXs on them, make them into little products that I believe will make us like that. It's all about the story of like there are lots of agencies in the world now. Like, what's your agency story? Well, ours is that we create free tools. Ours is that we specialize in digital PR, and we're looking to start to specialize more in SaaS link building, which is just a different link building technique. So again, we could run a webinar on link building techniques, so we won't go into that too much.
What do you think, though, looking forwards into the future with all this stuff that's changing? There's someone literally knocking on the door right now. It's an agency owner asking for a specific piece of advice from you about, whether to broaden their services or specialize, like what is it that you've got for them that are listening right now?
I just said yourself, specialize. I think if you are just an SEO agency,
yeah,
are you lead gen? Are you e-commerce? Are you SME? Are you enterprise? Like, the narrower the channel, the more lucrative it can be. And I think that anybody that wants, if I was going to start an SEO agency now, I'd probably start a YouTube agency. I'd just go the video route. Yeah, that would be my advice. Go the video route.
So, quick fire round to wrap things up. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Always be selling. So even if you've got a nice ARR forecast, change occurs, keep that pipeline busy. The stuff that you don't think is going to happen is going to happen. Not everyone's going to say yes. Always be selling.
Cool. Worst advice you've ever received?
I'll have ignored it and forgotten it.
What's the biggest mistake you've ever made?
Nepotism. So I've hired into my senior leadership based on past reputation, and I haven't put them through the stuff. And I've done it 3 times. So, the follow up to that was, would you make it again? And clearly you have. Maybe you've learned a lesson now. Hopefully not now, because we have a more resilient hiring process.
Good. And then if you could change one thing about the entire industry, the agency side of the entire industry, what would it be?
Can we all log off Twitter? And start being nicer to each other. And I think that I would actually love there to be like a standards organization of some sort that holds us to account versus, because anyone can start an agency with a laptop and an opinion. So having some kind of industry, and I don't know what it is, by the way, otherwise I'd have tried to launch it, some kind of industry standard that at least, like a chartered institute of digital marketers. I don't know. Chris, you go to all these fancy black tie dinners with the mayor of entrepreneurs and stuff like that. This is your bag, not mine. But,
I'll work on it tomorrow. I'll get it done tomorrow.
That would be beneficial for us all, customer, agency, and staff.
Awesome.
Great. This has been an excellent chat, and let's do the sign off. And I want to say that is it for today's episode of the SEO Agency Rollercoaster podcast. Thank you to Gareth Hoyle of Marketing Signals for making the time to join us and talk about his professional journey. It's been a pleasure, Gareth. This whirlwind adventure is brought to you by SEO Ranking, the go-to SEO tool set for over 40,000 digital agencies worldwide. If you're ready to take your agency's SEO game to the next level, be sure to join the SEO Ranking family. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more insights, laughs, and all things SEO. This is Andrew Zarudny alongside Chris Simmons signing off from the SEO Agency Rollercoaster. Stay tuned for more episodes, and remember, in the world of SEO, the ride never truly ends.